talk about the holidays. And I know for a lot of people, that just means congratulations.
Woohoo!
There's a lot more stress, a lot more to do. The obligations are aplenty on top of all the other things we already do as business owners. So I really want to spend some time talking about how do you manage all the things at once. Um, and I think the biggest thing about the holidays that really get to people is that there's just so many more things to do. It's not just about the regular day to day stressors in life, the regular day to day tasks that need to be done, the regular day to day task um, that have to be done at home, that have to be done in your business. For your own self care, it's like, our self care is a thing that we literally just put on the back burner all the time. And if anything, during these times, during the holidays, is when that needs to be front and center. Front and center. So, one of the things I would love to know is some of the ways that you put self care front and center. Some of the things that you do for self care. Yes, I'm going to be happy to share some of the things I do. And it doesn't have to be expensive things. I was literally reading an article earlier today that talked about, I guess, maybe mostly the beauty industry and how women spend so much money on different beauty products. But now they're self care products. A little switcheroo there. And now they're self care products, and women are still spending a fortune. And when I say a fortune, I mean, we're talking, I think they said on average about $8,300 a year between lotions, potions, makeup, that kind of thing. I don't know if they're talking. I know someone in one of the comments in the article was like, gosh, you should know how much we spend on just menstrual care products. Just a whole nother tax. But anyway, when you think about that, and they're heavily marketed, there's very few men in that market. It's they're starting to hit men more, but in no way in the same way they're hitting women. So I'm not talking about those kinds of things for self care. I'm not even talking about, like one of my favorite things is to get a massage. I'm not even talking about that right now. I'm talking about what are those things that you can do that cost nothing. And I'm, again, not against massages. I get them. I love them. It honestly, it's been a game changer for me. But what are some of those other things that you do? And I want it to be accessible, not necessarily easy to book in for a massage or something of that nature, or a getaway, night or weekend, because, sometimes it's just good to get away overnight from folks, right? What are some of those things you can do when you have a few moments, or when you have 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Of course, one of my favorites for self care is doing a 1 minute meditation where we're just really focused on breath. That helps so much to just handle your mindset. Hot tea with a snuggly sweater, like that's self care. Like for me, when I get up in the morning and I shower, like as crazy as that may sound to some people, for me, showering is self care. It's just those moments with the water rushing over me, and I could just kind of be alone with my thoughts. They're usually pretty good thoughts. If not, I'm going to switch them to good thoughts, right? But I could be alone with my thoughts and just have that time for me. You do the same thing, you could go for a 10-minute walk. Like all of those things are self care. And in fact, I would say this, and this is, I mean, scientifically proven to be true. Get out from behind the desk, put away your phone, and go outside and be in nature, no matter what time of the year. Yes, it might be more beautiful in the fall or in the spring, right? And maybe you think, oh, it's too hot in the summer, too cold in the winter. It really doesn't matter. 10, 15 minutes out in nature is some of the best self care you're going to get. Because if you can really, like I said, just walking, you see things differently than you do when you're driving. Okay? You see things differently when you're walking than when you're driving. And if there's a park nearby, that's great. Sometimes I literally think to myself, I don't have a lot of time. I live on like this extreme hill, kind of like a mountain. And so I just go outside on my deck and walk. Like sometimes that's what I have to do. And I'm walking, it's a big deck, so I'm walking around the deck for 15 minutes. But it feels really good because I'm noticing things. And it's in that noticing that your mind starts to calm down. And the stress of whatever's going on in your day starts to fade. Because now you're noticing. Now, I'm not saying that your mind still isn't working, because trust me, it is. The brain doesn't turn off. But what happens is it gives it time to think logically about things way, way back here in the back of your mind. While you're noticing and taking in the beauty, and your cortisol levels are dropping, all the stress hormones, they're all dropping, and you just feel more calm. And then in that calmness is often when we think, oh, now we're seeing the answers. Now we have the answers to how to handle XYZ, what priority to put things in, etc. Right? It brings calm to our holidays. And one of the things when I sent out my email today to my list is I said, there's still time to put, what did I say? The jolly back in the holidays, right? You can be jolly and not stressed. And one of those ways to get to the jolly, seriously, go outside. That is my number one low cost way of getting things right. Getting things right in your mind, seeing the best way forward is to just walk outside. 10-15 minutes in nature. Like I said, if you're somewhere where you can walk the block and look at the trees and hear the birds, and even if you hear the traffic too, it's okay. You're still in nature. Got me? So you don't have to go out to the nearest park or anything like that. Like I said, a lot of times I just walk the deck. But those things are going to be so important for your mental health as you move through the holidays. And then carry that habit, right? Carry that habit into the new year. So as much as you can get out and do that, as much as you can in the day, please do that. If you could do that 3 to 4 times a day, that would be tremendous. You will be surprised how differently you feel, how easy it is to approach things going on in your life. If you get out there and you can just be focused. Like it used to be when I would go walk, I would listen to certain music. That actually is a distraction, right? I'm still trying to quote unquote entertain myself. And that's turning on different functions in the brain. And so what I'm asking you to do is to not turn on anything, not to be entertained, but to be out there noticing, being mindful. Does that make sense? So let me know if you're down with what I'm sharing with you, because this is the fastest way I know how to get jolly back in. Like what you could do today to instantly shift what's going on in your life. That's how you're going to put the jolly back in your holidays. There's other things too, like make no mistake, and we can talk about this. And we are going to be talking about this, honestly, during Soulful Reset. We're talking about all these different strategies or life hacks or tactics or whatever you want to call them that you can use on a day-to-day basis so that you are happier and thus a more pleasant person to be around. And can figure out things faster, right? I talked about closing tabs in our mind. And it was so funny. My computer last night was just running in the ground. I was trying to watch a couple of YouTube videos, and they would pull up the video, and no joke, it would pull up the video, play the first 5 to 10 seconds, and then tell me error. I'm like, what? And at first I was like getting upset, and then I'm like, let me do this on my phone. Not a problem on my phone. Do you know who doesn't keep a bunch of stuff open on their phone? Do you know who has 1 million tabs open on their computer? My computer just bogged down to a halt. It was crazy pants. And I just thought about it. You need to close tabs. And it was the first time in probably, this is somewhat embarrassing to say, maybe 2 weeks or more, that I closed everything and shut down my computer. It had been that long. And I had like 4 windows of tabs open. So the poor thing, I was just like, oh, please, woman, give me a break. And honestly, your brain's doing the same thing. It's like, please give me a break. Close some of these loops. And to me, what they are energetic drains, right? I always talk about with my clients quite a bit about how to close energetic loops. And that's what all the tabs open are. But it's just with our brains. They're open loops where we're leaking our energy. And the more you can close those off, the better that you'll be. One of those ways, meditation, getting out into nature. Realize sometimes the reason the loop is open is just because you haven't settled on something yet. That simple. But you haven't let your brain have the downtime, so to speak. So it could be settled. You've always got it entertained and engaged. And so it's in those moments of letting it settle, where it's not being entertained and engaged, it can begin that process of closing those loops. It does that with your sleep too. But it's nice when it can happen during the day, especially when you're feeling more and more anxious about whatever it is. If you allow your brain time to start closing some loops, your anxiety level will go down. All right? So again, I just wanted to say, let me know some of the things that you do that are free or low cost to give yourself some self-care during the holidays. Because again, I feel like a broken record. You cannot give from an empty well. Put the oxygen mask on yourself first, right? You have to come from a place of fullness so you can truly help others if that's what you're called here to do, right? Most of us have this need to nurture and care for those around us in one capacity or another, but you can't do that from empty, right? Because you're just going to fall apart. And then what good is that? Like, honestly, what good is that? And this is a small tangent. So I'm just going to go on this tangent, but it's a small tangent. You know, so many people are so committed to their jobs, and you know this, as a, business owners, so we know this. There's a point you worked somewhere, you were very committed to that job, and you know they can replace you as soon as you quit. Right? They like to say you're irreplaceable. You like to feel irreplaceable. But honest to goodness, if something were to happen to you, they'd be like, rest in peace, and the job posting would be on 2 minutes later. Right? Nothing that we do in life is worth, I shouldn't say nothing we do in life is worth dying for. Some things are. I can think of a few. But if we don't have to be in that position, why would we be? Like, why would you put yourself in the position to be completely exhausted in order to help someone? Doesn't make sense, because the next time that person needs help, or next time you need help, or someone else needs help, you're at a place where you're basically immobile or useless or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But when we're always giving from full, when we're always giving really from our overflow, we're really able to not to just help one person, but many people. And that we're constantly giving from our overflow because we have more than enough. But you have to give yourself the time and the space to gather and contain fullness so that you can go into overflow. All right. I do want to invite you to the event, to Soulful Reset, and get all the information so you can reserve your seat. I'm really excited about the event, all 3 days. It's live. It's very interactive because I don't like this one-way communication. it's really important for us to really integrate things. That it is a two-way communication. It's all of us coming together and really cementing in what needs to happen. All right, my loves. With that, I say peace, joy, love to you.